Call this meeting to order. It's December 7th, 2023. Shoshone County Commissioners, we're here to review proposed contract for employment for ILED treatment provider. And we're also here to review a proposed contract for employment for outside legal counsel. Let's go ahead and start with ILED. What do you got, Mr. Prosecutor?
You bet. So our ILED program, which you all have been briefed on extensively in the past, I think the community's had quite a lot of buzz with the anticipation of what this program can do for our local community. We're at a position where we are finally ready to roll it out, assuming that we can secure a treatment provider, which was our last piece of the puzzle, really. We had advertised for a number of months trying to fill it. The program's been on hold, waiting for that position to be filled. And the ILED board has finally identified an applicant that it believes is suitable to step in right away to get the program up off the ground and to implement the procedures that are going to be needed for treatment for the program. So that individual, we've discussed the possible employment arrangement. We've identified a contract that's amenable to both the ILED board and the applicant. And that proposed agreement is before the BOCC now to decide if the county wants to officially or formally approve it, disapprove it, or provide further comments or recommendations for amending it. So,
Okay.
And tell us again all the qualifications and what this person does, because they're not just testing for urine samples.
correct. Yeah, so they need there's a couple of different degrees that qualify. I don't know all of the acronyms of each of those degrees off the top of my head. Those would be contained within the job posting. I can tell you, generally speaking, it's essentially a master's level degree or equivalent with specific certifications and qualifications for substance use dependency. The details of that licensing are pretty extensive. In fact, we've had a number of applicants reach out to us with both bachelor's and master levels degrees that still didn't have the requisite qualifications that would be required by the state to provide the specific type of counseling that's going to be needed for this program. So those requirements are pretty stringent. We are fortunate to have an applicant that has all of those because they're going to be a lateral over, so they're already doing this type of work in substance use dependency counseling. They'll be able to step right in. They're also qualified and certified to do a number of other things, including do the assessments that identify the type and level of treatment that participants would need. And they're also qualified to receive outside government funding to help reimburse some of the treatment. So they've got those credentials as well. So the person that's applying, they really are a full package. They fit all of the needs that we could want or hope for. And as such, I think they're going to be a great asset to the county, assuming that the county approves a contract for their employment.
And then just for the public to know, this is a grant that's paying for all this.
A grant will fund, the grant's designed to fund the program as a whole.
Yep.
One piece of that program is going to be the salary and benefits of the treatment provider. So the individual in this role, obviously the ILED board that oversees the use and allocation of the various grant funds that are coming in and the functions that need to be performed by the program have essentially outlined how all of that's going to be divided and is responsible for reporting back to the state with any recommended changes or adjustments to that anticipated spending regimen that we originally submitted with. As with any grant of this magnitude, obviously there's a lot of money involved here. I'm sure there will be some adjustments as the ILED board starts to actually implement some of the procedures, identify, hey, maybe costing didn't cost as much as we thought it would. Maybe the remodel of the telehealth treatment room didn't cost as much as we thought it would. But maybe the treatment provider's benefits are going to end up costing more because projections went up, right? So the board will have the ability to go back and confer with IDOC to make proposals for adjustments as the grant continues on. But obviously, when you start a project like this, you have to make certain projections based upon information that you expect to see and the cost that you expect services and functions to entail. So,
Okay.
Do I have any other questions?
Questions? Did you get a copy of that? I have a copy of that.
I don't think I do.
I can re-forward that email if you give me just a moment. And actually, Sydney, it'd probably be best if you go ahead and pull it and get it before the BOCC so they can review what's being proposed.
Okay, it would have been from you.
He just sent it
I'm going to try to
Oh.
resend it.
It's gonna be on the top of it.
I'm gonna go print it
I
out.
didn't see it. Our attachment. Did you see it?
I was looking this morning, so I thought maybe he's bringing it back.
And if I've erred in forgetting to attach it, then I apologize. Yeah, so we'll get it resent right now. Certainly, I want you guys to have an opportunity to review it if you haven't reviewed it, so that way you guys understand what it is that's being proposed. So,
I do have a copy of our next topic that I looked through yesterday, so we did get that one. Is there court today going on upstairs? I looked full
Yep.
outside, so.
yeah, we've got a full docket. I've got both of my deputies scrambling this morning.
Matt, did you want a copy?
If you would, please. Thank you. Now, is the applicant, is she local?
She is. I mean, local as in she's currently providing treatment services within this community.
Oh,
As far as where she resides, I believe she resides in the Coeur d'Alene area, but
Okay.
she's familiar with traveling some, and I think is amenable to that piece.
Okay. All right.
I think this looks good.
Yeah, I think that's good.
We're fortunate to be able to find someone.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Especially somebody that's already in the field.
Absolutely.
I'll do a motion to improve the employment of the ILED applicant.
Okay, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. All right, on to the next one, Gibbons Firstly.
Yeah, so I'll, just by way of very brief background for the board, advise that the contract which has been sent over via the form of an engagement letter from Gibbons Pursley is for the employment of Christopher Meyer. He is a attorney who specializes in the area of road law. He has written the Road Law Handbook, which is utilized as a authority on all matters pertaining to road laws within the state of Idaho. In regards to expertise, he brings with him a great degree of expertise in the particular area of matters which this county currently has pending. As such, anytime the county encounters matters that require particular expertise, the county has at its disposal the ability under the Hampton v. Board of Commissioners case for Idaho 646 to go out and obtain outside legal services to assist with the workload of the elected prosecuting attorney's office and to provide specific assistance for civil matters. This case presents, in my opinion, a great example of how that's utilized, obviously, in addition to the staffing deficiencies that my office has, which will make it very difficult for my office to be able to handle civil matters in the immediate future. The particular case that is pending and the other outstanding matters which are associated or related to it involve an area of expertise that typically falls well outside the scope of a traditional general practice elected prosecuting attorney. As such, I believe it's prudent for the county to make the formal finding of necessity that the county prosecutor's office is unable to undertake the workload of the representation that's contemplated without the assistance of an outside firm, that outside firm being one that has particular expertise in the area which they're being contracted to assist with. The conversations I had preliminarily with Mr. Meyer in discussing the matter with him involved both components that discussed the nature of the case to ensure he felt comfortable with assisting the county on this, advising him of the anticipated parties that would likely be involved in the litigation to ensure he didn't believe he had a conflict otherwise in representing the county. And then lastly, a component that really voiced concerns related to the county's budget, and that although the county is in desperate need of legal assistance, at the same time, the county is also in a position budgetarily where the county is required to be very prudent with how it's utilizing its resources, especially considering the fact that the county has upcoming 2 expected vacancies in our deputy prosecutor positions, which we will have to find some way to fill. And so we also have to try to preserve as much of those resources in that area of the budget as we can, so that way we'll have leverage to try to fill those positions. In light of that, Mr. Meyer agreed to provide a discount to the county from his typical hourly rate, so you'll see that discount within there. Candidly, you'll also see the price that counties pay when we have to go out and contract for civil legal services. Civil legal services being an area that typically costs much more than criminal services. And so you're going to see both what his typical billing rate is for clients and then what he's willing to offer his services to the county for. With that said, Mr. Meyer did review the briefing that our office filed as part of the district court case that's now up on appeal. And after reviewing the briefing and the presentation materials that the county utilized during that district court hearing, Mr. Meyer did indicate that he felt like the county did a great job of presenting its case, and he didn't feel like he's going to have to recreate the wheel when it comes to the Supreme Court appeal. He seemed to have some relative assurance that he'll be able to keep the amount of time he has to expend on representation in this case down compared to perhaps other matters, because he did feel that the county put forth a very good argument at the district court level, so he's not going to have to reproduce a lot of that same work. He also inquired, since this is a civil matter, whether or not I, as the elected, felt comfortable enough with courtroom litigation to be able to present my own case in front of the Supreme Court rather than having to pay him to present it on his own. I told him that I would be willing to do that. I alluded to the time limitations that my office is obviously facing, but told him that I would continue to make this a priority and I will continue to be the lead counsel on this case, so he wouldn't have to take primary and spend as much time reviewing all the case files.
Okay.
So I've agreed to stay on as primary counsel, which means that his role as an assistant at this point is going to be for expert advisement, review of everything we're doing, and general strategy and litigation, which should help keep down the billable costs that the county incurs for his services.
That sounds reasonable.
I appreciate it. I've looked it over. You looked it over?
Yeah, I looked it over yesterday and this morning.
You know,
I think that's it. I'll move to approve the Gibbons Pursley. This is contract, yeah, contract as is.
Okay. I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you,
We'll get
guys.
those signed.
We'll get them signed. The Given Pursley one actually contemplates that I'll be the one authoring it after it's approved by the BOCC, so you guys don't have to,
Okay.
at least I don't recall
I'll
there
be
being a
seeing theirs.
signature line for you. They typically have the elected prosecutor be the one that signs their outside counsel contracts. So,
Yeah.
but I need your authorization via your motion. So now that we have that, I can move forward.
Okay.
Public comment?
Which one?
Huh?
First one?
Yeah.
The grant, does it include the cost of the testing?
There is a component within the grant that can cover testing cost. And so there is a piece of that that's designed to provide supplemental funding for community resources and to assist with facilitating testing functions. Now, whether or not the board determines to use that money for your analysis tests, GPS tracking, other forms of testing, there's a lot that the board may have at its disposal based upon what the treatment provider needs from the board by way of its clients' needs as they start doing the intake.
So this is an unknown if it pays for it yet. Well, it's what they decide, or the board here. Okay. The other thing is just because we've been through this the last couple days, on the benefits, you're a little light on that. 115,000. Your benefits actually are 49.50%. You're about $14,000 light on benefits.
So
On that estimate.
the numbers that are included in the contract were run through the county spreadsheet and verified by the clerk as recently as last week. So
Right.
I don't compute them, but I did have them reviewed.
I've got your budget worksheet, and you're 49%, 49.50. Anyway, that agreement, is that just for one case? With
I don't know that I understand the
outside
question.
counsel?
So the engagement letter, and you can obtain a copy of it and read it, contemplates primarily representation as to a specific case, but gives the county's designee the ability to expand the scope to similar related matters if they're incidental to that case.
So if they're tied to that case. Okay, so it's really for one case. Last question is where are you taking it out of your budget at? The money to pay for this contract.
The money to pay for the contract will likely need to be expended out of the line item that's either contemplated for outside contracts. That's the first one that comes to mind. And
Okay. Professional services.
professional services would be the other line item that it potentially could be
That-
allocated to.
$1,000 you have in there now. I don't. Sorry, I don't see a outside contract on here.
I don't have a copy of my budget in front of me, so I can't.
Well, I mean, you can look mine.
Okay.
That's 830.
To be professional services, and it's a, at the end, if they went over, then we would have to open the budget, so it would come under professional services for now.
But where do you get it out of your budget? Where you can open your budget, but you still gotta have money to put in there.
Yeah,
I'll chime in. I don't contemplate that the county would need to open the budget because I don't contemplate the prosecuting attorney's office will be over its budget at the end of the budget year. There is a line item under 541 for labor contracts.
Okay.
So that would be the line item for contracts. There's also a line item under 482 for professional services.
How much is in the labor contract?
Labor contracts did not have anything allocated to it for this year,
Okay.
which we are going to have to expend money under that line item based upon our staffing deficiencies, which will result in a anticipated surplus under our deputy prosecutor salaries.
Okay.
all right. Is that it? Okay. We'll adjourn the meeting. All right, thank you.